You're listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life, hosted by TravCon.
My name's Dylan Callier, and I'm a traveling physical therapist best known for the New Medical Nomads podcast. I'm sitting down with TravCon speakers to give you a sneak peek into what they'll be talking about at the conference this year. My next guest is a traveling doctor of physical therapy that has toured the country from Kentucky to Alaska for the last 6 years with his wife, Ellen, and for the last 3 years with their little girl, Kenley. He and his wife are both orthopedic clinical specialists and have used these skills in nearly every setting since graduating together in 2011. Together, they founded the Elite Level Traveler, which is a course for career and income growth, as well as the blog PT Adventures, which was created to share their experience and offer a resource to others in the industry. They are passionate about living the adventure. They want to inspire other travelers to stand out in whatever setting that they are in and strive to be a valuable asset to their patients and to the therapy world. He is a returning TravCon speaker this year and someone I admire both for lifestyle and professionally. His next session, Clinical Excellence as a Traveler, is coming up September 26th to the 29th, 2021 in Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Steven Stockhausen. Welcome, Dr. Stockhausen. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Steve, first getting in, I guess I want to give the listeners just a little heads up about kind of your background and where you're coming from. But if you can just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure thing. So my wife and I both are 2011 graduates of University of Kentucky. And right out of school, we took jobs in sort of the Southwest Colorado area, did the outpatient ortho thing. And we're just so frustrated with not making headway on student loans. And kind of, we moved to Colorado to live this adventurous life. And we kind of felt like we're just working all the time. So we had kind of independently, before we even started dating, were curious about travel. And we both, after getting married, we just kind of ping pong that idea back and forth. And we're like, this would be a great way to get out, see the country, still do our job, do what we love doing. And so we kind of made the jump into travel, I think in 2014. And sorry to go back. We both sat for our OCS like a month before we hit the road. We actually got our results while on our very first contract out in California. So, and since then we traveled for about 6-7 years since then. So that's gone
and for the
all over the place.
Yeah, I forgot you guys got the OCS before you jumped into the travel world. So that was a refresher for me.
Yeah, I had a contract, my very first job, where I had like mentorship worked into the. That was one of the things I'd kind of negotiated with it was a small practice, 2 other clinicians, and so I negotiated into the contract for like an hour or 2, I can't remember, a week of one-on-ones, for the future, and then also having, Ellen to study with on the weekends and at nights. That was huge. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would have done it as a solo person, but it's a hefty challenge.
Yeah, it's well known across all disciplines, and I feel for the current graduating classes right now, because same thing I definitely got through based on group studies and their help, and I just can't imagine trying to study solo right now or through a computer screen or anything of that nature.
Oh man, yeah, I don't envy them.
So you jumped in, and did you know any travelers before you took the plunge?
No, so we had one friend who had made the jump into travel nursing, and she actually she traveled for years and years. She's one of our best friends. She ended up staying at her travel job. She's been at UCSF now for a long time. She's a peds oncology nurse, but she's fantastic. But that was sort of our first experience, was kind of watching her from a distance. And so we actually went to the Bay Area because her contract at the time was Bay Area as well. So we sort of followed, but I didn't know any PTs. There wasn't a ton of online resources back then. I had no idea about TravCon. So it was a little sparse.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to reflect that because even me coming in, I mean, I was very fortunate because there was content starting to trickle out for travel therapy. But back then there wasn't anything. And so you're just kind of going in and figuring it out on your own. And for me, when I first came to TravCon, I had this idea of traveling only being for like a young solo male. And then I started meeting all these solo female travelers. And then I started meeting all these travel couples. And then I met you guys as a travel family. And I was like, oh my gosh, so anybody can travel.
That was crazy when we met you because our little girl was 3 weeks old and we took her to TravCon. I don't remember why. I forget. I think our childcare fell through or something. But we brought her with us to Vegas, and yeah, we happened to run into you after the keynote. That was crazy.
Yeah. Fast forward 3 years, 4 years later, something like that.
3.5. Yeah.
So once you jumped in, what were some of the things that you kind of discovered with traveling, specifically around like rumors and myths?
Yeah, so all through school, we were told directly in our program, and this is not to bash University of Kentucky. We loved our school, but we were basically told that travel is where clinicians kind of go to disappear. It's bad clinicians. That was the reputation of any travelers that we heard of in our communities during our first jobs. My wife, actually, her very first job was replacing a traveler, and everyone was blown away that this girl was so good. They were all shocked, and she heard all these rumors about how, everyone was so surprised, and we're just both of us jumping into it, having just sat for the OCS. We're like, there's got to be a better way because, and this isn't exactly what we're seeing. Our friend now, the girl she replaces named Shannon. We're buddies with her, and actually later on, I hired her up in Alaska. I ended up being a clinic director up there, which is something that you can do as a traveler. A lot of people don't know. And yeah, she's fantastic. And so it was sort of this disconnect, and we just didn't understand it. So part of our goal as travelers moving forward was like, how can we kind of break this stereotype and this stigma of travel, because it's an amazing lifestyle. We planned on traveling for 2 years. We ended up for 7. Because we just loved it. And yeah, financially it makes sense for a lot of people, but and the adventure, but you can really still grow as a clinician. I think that's the thing. I feel like so many people just feel like, oh, I don't want to put my career on hold. I've got this great job right now. I'm going to put it on pause. Well, if COVID has told us anything, that like even that great job isn't forever, who knows what's going to happen. So why not enjoy the adventure and keep growing,
Man, yeah, hitting buttons with that COVID statement, especially for SPTs.
Yeah, torched us.
I remember hearing that when I was young in school, and since then I hadn't heard. So I almost thought that was like an old rumor that was around prevalently. But even at this most recent contract that I'm on now, I overheard some, perm nurses talking about travel nurses and how blah, 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 blah. They don't care. They go, at the end of the day, it's all about the money, which is just wild that exists. But I thought really good goal and a really good why to get started, especially when you guys started creating content and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like it doesn't have to be that way. And to be really fair, it's not all roses and sunshine. I've met travelers who are just mailing it in because they know 3 months from now they're gone, and the manager's never going to know that they weren't very good. It happens, but that is by no means the case across the board. It doesn't have to be that way. And good clinicians and people who are interested in developing their career should consider travel as a viable option. If that fits your life and family needs, I think definitely should do it.
Absolutely. Well, you have a pretty close topic coming up this year, clinical excellence as a traveler. What would be one key takeaway that you would want the listeners to hear about today?
I think the main thing is that even being a traveler, you don't have to put your career ambitions on hold. And I mean that not just clinically. I know that the title is clinical excellence, but even as leadership, a lot of us get into PT. I'm going to speak PT specifically because that's what I am. But Um, a lot of us get into it with these aspirations of being a clinic director, a manager, running your own show, that kind of thing. You can build those skills even as a traveler, and it's not hard to do. It's not hard to negotiate if you're worried about that. We go through all that kind of stuff in the course. It's a lot more accessible and a wonderful resume builder moving forward. So it's a great opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stockhausen, for hopping on. If you want to catch Stephen's session coming up this year, it will be at TravCon, always in September, always in Las Vegas. But Stephen, I will be sure to catch you there this year.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life. You can find the full show notes below or at travcon.org. Please help us out by rating our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a comment below or email us at podcast@travcon.org.